What's going on here today?
Well, I've invited different people who I know in the community who've been concerned about the homeless situation and about people not having adequate housing, not able to afford housing, to do a little bit of awareness, trying to build some awareness in the community about the numbers of people that are homeless and how do we help support them and try to humanize them. I think we're really so people are really afraid of homeless, and I really want to make it a more how do we connect?
Why do you think that is?
I'm not sure why people are afraid. I'm not sure why, but people don't feel comfortable approaching people who are homeless. I talked to somebody who works at the homeless shelter the other day, and he said that guys will go out and they'll be asking for money on the street. They come back and they say that people yell at them and call them names and make them feel really badly. And I think I went into the shelter not too long ago, and all I could see were traumatized children, thinking that these are not adults who had great lives as children.
Well, Albuquerque just passed an ordinance that prohibits panhandling near the freeways and off sidewalks and things like that.
Yeah.
What's your comment on something like that?
One thing I'm learning is that something I didn't realize is that for some people that's their way of making money. And I don't really have a feeling one way or the other. I feel if that's how somebody's able to make some money, then that's how they make it. And to not permit somebody really cuts off their ability to bring in some income. I know someone told me the other day that sometimes the guys will all get together, they'll panhandle, and then they'll go get a room so they can get a shower. And it's one of the things I'm finding, and this guy just told me, he said, go over to the shelter, sit down and talk to people and ask them, get some more information, because we create these myths about who people are that are homeless. In the heart of Taos, whose office is right across the street, they said the majority of the women that they sheltered their first month or a couple months had college degrees. Not everybody that's homeless has a cardboard sign that stands on the corner. I think we need to really open up our thinking and learn more and try to be more sympathetic. And I put the sign out there about, if we are human beings, we have to pay attention to those who are suffering and not be so casting such judgment upon them. And I really feel we need to make some moves toward that.
Was there anything in particular that sparked your decision to do this?
Yes. I was sitting in a meeting with a wonderful group of people, and one suggested we have another meeting, and I said, no, let's just do a flash mob. So I said, I'd had enough meetings, let's do something different. And I don't know, I'm not optimistic that it will yield anything, but I want us to try to, create some attention to it. And it's a big issue in our community. People talk about it like on the sidelines, homeless, there's so many homeless in town now. But what are we doing as a community to address it? And, we're putting them in Indian Hills and El Camino, and we're putting people in Taos Motel just so we can hide them for a little while. But there's so many people, and the shelter's full every night. So, yeah, big problem.
Are your folks going to be here all night?
No, but it's... No, we're not spending the night because the park closes at 5. It really was just, I told Cody I just wanted an opportunity for photographing and to call attention. But Megan Avina from TISA has had kids make signs about homelessness, and they're going to project them on the wall at the church once it gets dark. Mm-hmm. So that'll be going on for a little bit too. So.
Is this the only kind of demonstration you're planning, or?
No, I think it should be ongoing. I was thinking about that today, that we need to do some other things in the future to kind of continue to call attention to it. So I don't know exactly what we'll do, but we'll think about it, see what we can do.
Earlier you mentioned something about how people comment sometimes about how they see so many homeless people in Taos. Mm-hmm. Are there more homeless now than there have been before?
I don't know that. I don't know the stats. It feels like it to me that there are, but I couldn't tell you. We didn't always have a men's shelter that had the capacity it has, and now that we have it, we know it's full. But I really don't know. I know that people are having a much more difficult time finding homes that are affordable. That I do know. We just don't have enough adequate housing. And so people are just doubling up and tripling up in their families and with family. I see a lot of that. But I can't really speak to whether the numbers are up, I mean, it feels like it to me. Catherine Hummel from the Green Tree Project she's really got probably a better grip on what the numbers are. But I don't, it just feels like, because every morning you drive through town at 7:30, there's so many people that feel like they're just coming out of the woodwork. And the police chief was at a meeting yesterday, and I think his sense is that it's up. And so I think they're just more homeless maybe in the country. Mm-hmm. But it's a hard stat to gather.
Yeah.
You know, how do you gather the numbers? You know?
Well,
yeah.
a lot of homeless people are not all angels. You know,
Oh,
they're not
no. Yeah.
necessarily, you know, fine, upstanding citizens whose lives just taken a bad turn. Some people are struggling with alcohol and drug abuse,
Often.
and you know, they commit crimes to survive sometimes.
Exactly.
And so maybe that's one reason why people are suspicious of them. Or
yeah, it could be. I think absolutely. I think oftentimes people that are homeless have also mental health issues, and they have substance abuse issues. I think they all come very closely tied together, and it makes it very complicated, and it makes people weary. But the reality is so many, I think, of homeless people, and if you look at the jails, I mean, they've had trauma in their lives. And that's a really important piece. It wasn't like they had Ozzie and Harriet for parents. You know, I think that you have to really look at what is the whole sequencing of events. I mean, I just talked to these three guys, and they're like, they have lots of talent, they say, they'd like to work, they want to work. It's not about not wanting to work. And one guy's like, I don't ever take any government assistance. There may be this bit of independence, but the fact is they're not living, I mean, that's just one segment of homelessness. Then you have, like the woman I just put into the hotel with her kindergartner. I mean, she's just got out of jail, didn't have a place to go, lost her Section 8, and so where's she gonna go? And so there's many facets of homelessness, and people there's a lot of shame around it. A lot of people they don't even want to talk about it. They'll live in their car, go south where it's warmer. I mean, I think people want to avoid talking about the fact that they're homeless. It's not a pleasant thing. Mm-hmm. And the difficulties, there's somebody here in this group who was living in a hotel, homeless, and she found a little hovel to stay in until she qualified for a place in housing. Full-time student now, doing extremely well. But her circumstances did turn. And so really I think the only thing I can say about homelessness is that it's complicated, you know, and that many, many people in our community are, or they have inadequate housing. That we all know. That's, you know, the way the housing stock is pretty bad in the community and concerns me a lot.
what do you think is one way that people in Taos can take a look at this situation?
You know, I think paying attention, seeing what you see, you know, paying attention, I think contributing to the programs that exist, listening to what they're saying about homelessness. You have the Dream Tree Project, you have CAB, you have the homeless shelter. You have several good programs that are really trying hard to address it. Paying attention, reading, talking to them. I mean, like this guy said, come over and talk to us. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do, but it would be a way to begin to understand it a little bit more. And I think encouraging our city council and our county commissioners to look at how can we develop better housing stock, because our housing stock is so poor. How can we increase the numbers of houses we have for rent, because most of the people in the community are needing rentals. They're not looking to purchase houses. And so really, I mean, people can't buy, you know, I had a realtor say they have people coming into the community, they can't afford the $350,000 house. And so they're looking to rent, and it's still really high. Mm-hmm. And you look at the job scale, it's pretty.
I know the first response for a lot of people might be to let's have a meeting. You know, let's do it. Let's put some sort of an organization together.
Right. Yeah, that's not my temptation. Mm-hmm. Right now, I think I belong to some the people at the Dream Tree Project. A lot of people doing a lot of really good stuff. And so that's not what I think is necessary. I don't know I just think encouraging the county and the town, going to those meetings, encouraging them to look at what you can do for tax credit housing, whatever kinds of alternative housings, they have to apply. And it's going to take government intervention. It's not going to happen because one guy comes into town and builds an apartment complex. It's going to be a much more deliberate thing. So, but one thing that is good news is that they are actually increasing or reducing the number of people on the wait list for the housing for the Northern Regional Housing Authority. So more people can get housing. So that's a good thing. Or at least the wait list is thinned down.
What is your connection to this demonstration here?
My connection is, for one, my connection with Sienna. We have monthly housing meetings between the Men's Shelter, Heart of Taos, Las Cumbres, and Dream Tree. And so we talk about our clients and what our housing options are. And this is where this whole idea came about. From my experience as case manager and director, we have a huge lack of housing options for our homeless community, and my specific population is our adult men. So even guys that are working and saving money at the shelter have a very difficult time transitioning out of the shelter and finding affordable housing because it just doesn't exist. And programs like linkages through Tri-County and HUD housing vouchers are incredible programs for our men. But even then, there's caps on how much a one-bedroom can be, and it's again really hard to find housing. Even once the financial piece comes into place, it's still a huge uphill battle for our population that we work with.
Where are the homeless coming from these days?
For the population we work with, I would say about 50% is local. So local Taos County residents that have grown up here and have been here most of their lives. And then the other 50% from across the country, really, that just land in Taos. Or they're from Albuquerque, Santa Fe. We see a lot of guys coming up from more down south up to Taos because it is quieter. It's a more quieter shelter experience.
I know that Heart of Taos is working toward addressing the situation involving women and children.
Right.
At the men's shelter, they only deal with men, correct?
Adult men, right.
Do any men come to you sometimes with families?
It's pretty rare for us to see that. I think it's pretty well known in the community that we're not able to accommodate those folks. And that's why we have a great working relationship with Heart. So we're constantly referring clients back and forth to each other, and they help. They sometimes find men at their door, and so they'll bring them to us, and we'll refer women that. So the shelter's also open to the public for dinners every night, and so we have some women that come there for dinner, and then if they need more services, we will refer them to Heart of Taos.
Okay, and how is the shelter funded?
It's private, so we're not government funded. Our case management services are funded through a Taos County grant, and the county also leases us the land for where the shelter is. And we get a little bit support from the town of Taos, but most of it is through grant writing, and then the other half is local Taos County residents, so private donations that we get through our letter writing campaign and local small fundraisers, things like that.